I'm so glad you're here with us today. We're diving deep into A Course in Miracles, and if you're just joining our community, you might be wondering what this course is all about. I'd love to invite you to check out the very first video on this channel, where I break down exactly what A Course in Miracles is, how it came to exist, and why it's been transforming lives for over 5 decades. It'll give you the perfect foundation for everything we explore together here. Today we're continuing with Chapter 13, The Guiltless World, and we're moving into Section 4, which has a title that might seem simple at first, but holds one of the most profound teachings in the entire course, the function of time. Now, when you first read those words, you might think, well, I know what time is for. Time is just time. It's how we measure our days, how we organize our lives, how we track the past and plan for the future. But the Course is about to reveal something absolutely revolutionary about time that will change how you experience every single moment of your existence. Think about your relationship with time for a moment. How much of your mental and emotional energy is consumed by time? You're constantly thinking about the past, aren't you? Replaying conversations, reliving mistakes, holding on to resentments, clinging to memories both pleasant and painful. And then there's the future, which occupies even more of your attention. Planning, worrying, anticipating, hoping, fearing. What's coming next? You're anxious about deadlines, worried about what might happen, trying to control outcomes that haven't even occurred yet. And in all of this constant movement between past and future, where are you? You're almost never here, in this present moment. The Course teaches that this isn't accidental. This isn't just how time naturally works. This is how the ego uses time to keep you imprisoned, to keep you separate from your true self, to keep you trapped in a cycle of guilt and fear. The ego made time for a very specific purpose, and understanding that purpose is crucial to your awakening. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is what Section 4 explores so beautifully. Time doesn't have to serve the ego's purpose. The Holy Spirit can take this exact same phenomenon that we call time and use it for something completely different. What the ego made as a weapon against God, the Holy Spirit transforms into a learning device, a tool for healing, a pathway back to remembering who you really are. So you're living in time right now. You can't escape it while you're identified with a body. But the question isn't whether you're going to experience time. The question is, what purpose is your time serving? Are you using time the way the ego intends, which keeps you stuck in guilt and separation? Or are you allowing the Holy Spirit to reinterpret time, to show you how every moment can be an opportunity for forgiveness, for healing, for choosing love over fear? This section is going to show you something that might sound impossible. That time, which seems so solid and linear and unavoidable, is actually flexible. That you have a choice in every moment about how to use it. That you're not imprisoned by your past, and you're not at the mercy of an uncertain future. That right now, in this instant, you can choose to let time serve your awakening instead of your imprisonment. What we're exploring today isn't just philosophy. It's intensely practical. Because once you understand the function of time, once you see how the ego has been using it against you and how the Holy Spirit can use it for you, your entire experience of life changes. You stop being a victim of time. You stop feeling like you're running out of time, or that you've wasted time, or that you're trapped by time. You start to see that time is a gift, an opportunity, a classroom for learning the lessons that will set you free. So let's dive into this together. Let's look at what time really is, what it's really for, and how you can start using it the way it was meant to be used. Let's start by understanding something fundamental. The ego made time. Time didn't exist in eternity. It didn't exist in the reality of heaven, in the oneness with God. Time was literally invented by the ego as part of the elaborate illusion of separation. And it was invented for a very specific purpose: to be used as a weapon against God, to be used as proof that separation is real and permanent. Think about this carefully. The ego's entire existence depends on convincing you that you're separate from God, separate from your true self, separate from everything. But how do you make separation seem real and irreversible? You introduce the concept of time. You create a past where the separation supposedly happened, making it seem like a done deal, an unchangeable fact. And you create a future that stretches endlessly ahead, making it seem like you're permanently stuck in this separated state. Time becomes the prison bars that keep you locked away from the eternal now where God is. The ego uses the past brilliantly and viciously. It takes everything you've ever done that you feel guilty about and stores it in the past as evidence against you. Every mistake, every failure, every moment when you chose fear over love, the ego catalogs it all and says, "See? This is who you are. This is what you've done. This can never be undone." The past becomes a storehouse of guilt that the ego uses to reinforce your belief that you're fundamentally flawed, fundamentally separate from the holiness of God. And then there's the future, which the ego uses just as strategically. The ego fills your future with anxiety, with fear, with the need to plan and control and prepare for all the terrible things that might happen. It keeps you constantly focused on what's coming next, what you need to do, what might go wrong, what you need to achieve to finally be okay. The future becomes an endless treadmill where you're always running but never arriving. Notice what the ego is doing here. By keeping you obsessed with the past and anxious about the future, the ego ensures that you're never in the present moment. And this is crucial, because the present moment is the only place where you can actually experience God, where you can actually hear the voice of the Holy Spirit, where you can actually choose differently. The present moment is where your power is. So the ego has to keep you out of it at all costs. The ego also uses time to delay your salvation. It tells you that healing takes time, that awakening is a long journey, that you're not ready yet, that maybe someday in the future you'll be spiritual enough, or good enough, or advanced enough. It uses time to make salvation seem distant, difficult, something that requires years of effort and struggle. And in doing so, it keeps you from accepting the salvation that's available right now, in this instant. Here's the cost of all this. When you let the ego use time this way, you're living in a constant state of anxiety and regret. You're burdened by a past you can't change and terrified of a future you can't control. You're never at peace because peace only exists in the present moment, and the ego has made sure you're never there. You're exhausted from carrying all this guilt from the past and all this fear about the future. And worst of all, you're missing the only moment in which you can actually experience love, joy, and connection with your true self. Now comes the beautiful part. The Holy Spirit looks at this same phenomenon we call time and sees it completely differently. Where the ego made time as a weapon, the Holy Spirit transforms time into a gift. Where the ego uses time to imprison you, the Holy Spirit uses time to free you. And this is one of the most hopeful teachings in the entire course. Nothing the ego made is beyond the Holy Spirit's ability to reinterpret and repurpose. For healing. The Holy Spirit sees time as a learning device. It's not a punishment for your supposed sin of separation. It's not proof that you're permanently stuck in illusion. It's a classroom, a training ground, an opportunity to learn the lessons that will undo the ego's thought system and return you to the awareness of your true nature. Every moment in time is a chance to choose differently, to see differently, to forgive instead of attack, to choose love instead of fear. Here's what's revolutionary about this. The Holy Spirit doesn't need you to transcend time or escape time or somehow get beyond time. The Holy Spirit uses the very time you're experiencing right now as the means of your salvation. You don't have to wait until you're more advanced or more spiritual. You don't have to spend years preparing yourself. Right now, in this moment, time can serve your awakening if you're willing to let the Holy Spirit show you how to use it. The key to the Holy Spirit's use of time is the present moment. While the ego keeps you focused on past and future, the Holy Spirit gently brings you back to now, because now is the only time that actually exists. The past is gone. It's literally not here anymore except as thoughts in your mind. The future hasn't happened. It exists only as projections and anxieties in your mind. The only real time, the only actual moment you ever experience is this one, right now. And in this present moment, you have complete freedom. You're not bound by what happened in the past. You're not limited by what you think might happen in the future. In this moment, you can choose to see through the eyes of the Holy Spirit instead of the eyes of the ego. You can choose to forgive instead of holding grievances. You can choose to see innocence instead of guilt. You can choose love instead of fear. And that choice, made in this instant, changes everything. The Holy Spirit shows you that each instant is an opportunity for salvation, not salvation, in some distant future when you finally become perfect enough. Salvation now. Because salvation is simply the decision to see truly, to let go of the ego's interpretation and accept the Holy Spirit's vision. And that decision can be made in any moment. This moment, right now. Here's what makes this so practical and accessible. You don't have to change your entire life. You don't have to quit your job or move to a monastery or spend hours in meditation. You just have to be willing to let this moment be used differently. You're washing dishes? That moment can be used for peace instead of resentment. You're stuck in traffic? That moment can be used for forgiveness instead of frustration. You're having a difficult conversation? That moment can be used to see the other person's innocence instead of their guilt. The Holy Spirit uses time as a means to undo the belief in separation. Every moment that you choose to see with the Holy Spirit's vision, you're weakening the ego's grip. Every instant that you choose forgiveness over judgment, you're dismantling the thought system of separation. Time becomes a tool for healing your mind, for undoing all the false beliefs you've accumulated, for gradually removing all the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. And here's the beautiful paradox. As you let the Holy Spirit use time for healing, time itself begins to collapse. Because time was only necessary as long as you believed in separation. When you start to remember your oneness, when you start to experience the eternal now, time loses its hold on you. So we've seen how the ego uses time and how the Holy Spirit reinterprets it. Now comes the most important question. How do you actually live this? How do you shift from the ego's use of time to the Holy Spirit's use of time in your daily experience. Because understanding these concepts intellectually is one thing, but embodying them, living them moment by moment, is where the real transformation happens. The first thing you need to recognize is that in every single moment, you're making a choice. You might not be aware you're making it, but you are. You're choosing whether to let the ego use this moment to reinforce separation and guilt, or to let the Holy Spirit use this moment for healing and awakening. There's no neutral use of time. Every instant is being used for one purpose or the other. The question is, are you choosing consciously, or are you letting the ego's programming run on autopilot? Start by becoming aware of how you're using time right now. Are you dwelling in the past, replaying old hurts, clinging to regrets? That's the ego's use of time. Are you anxious about the future, trying to control what hasn't happened yet, consumed by worry? That's the ego's use of time. Or are you here, in this present moment, available to see what's actually in front of you with fresh eyes? That's the Holy Spirit's invitation. Here's a practical way to shift. When you notice your mind drifting to past or future, gently ask yourself, how could the Holy Spirit use this moment? You don't have to figure out the answer yourself. Just asking the question opens you to guidance. Maybe you're remembering something painful from your past. Instead of just replaying it and reinforcing the guilt, you can ask, Holy Spirit, help me see this differently. Show me the opportunity for forgiveness here. And suddenly that memory, which the ego was using to keep you imprisoned, becomes material for healing. Or maybe you're worried about something coming up tomorrow. Instead of spiraling into anxiety, you can pause and say, Holy Spirit, I give you my fear about this. Show me how to see this situation with peace instead of fear. And in that moment of willingness, you've shifted from the ego's use of time to the Holy Spirit's use of time. The beautiful thing about this practice is that it's infinitely accessible. You don't need special circumstances. You don't need to wait until your life is perfectly arranged. You can do this right now, wherever you are, whatever's happening. The Holy Spirit can use any moment for healing if you're willing to offer it. And here's what starts to happen as you practice this consistently. Time begins to feel different. It becomes less heavy, less oppressive. You stop feeling like you're running out of time, or wasting time, or being victimized by time. You start to experience moments of timelessness, where you're so present, so connected to the eternal now, that the past and future simply dissolve. You get glimpses of what exists beyond time, the eternal reality that's always been here, always been you. This is what the Course means when it talks about the collapse of time. Time doesn't collapse all at once in some dramatic event. It collapses gradually as you stop using it for the ego's purpose and start using it for the Holy Spirit's purpose. Every moment you choose forgiveness over grievance, you're literally shortening time. Every instant you choose to see innocence instead of guilt, you're moving closer to the recognition that time was never real to begin with. And ultimately, that's where this all leads, from time to eternity. Not eternity as endless time stretching forever into the future, but eternity as the timeless now, the eternal present where God is, where you truly are. Time was only necessary to help you undo the belief in separation. Once that belief is completely healed, time simply disappears, revealing the eternal reality that was always here. So let's take a moment to reflect on what we've explored together today. We started by looking at the ego's use of time, understanding that the ego literally made time as a weapon against God. We saw how the ego uses the past to store guilt and the future to generate anxiety, keeping you perpetually out of the present moment where your power and peace actually exist. We recognized how the ego uses time to delay your salvation, convincing you that healing is always somewhere in the distant future instead of available right now. Then we discovered the Holy Spirit's beautiful reinterpretation of time. We saw how the Holy Spirit transforms time from a prison into a learning device, from a weapon into a gift. We explored how every present moment is an opportunity for salvation, for choosing forgiveness over judgment, for seeing with vision instead of with the ego's perception. We understood that the Holy Spirit doesn't need you to escape time, but simply to use it differently, to let each instant serve healing instead of separation. Finally, we looked at how to actually live this in your daily experience. We saw that in every moment you're making a choice about how time is being used, whether consciously or unconsciously. We explored practical ways to shift from the ego's use of time to the Holy Spirit's use of time, simply by asking in each moment, how could the Holy Spirit use this? And we glimpsed the beautiful truth that as you consistently choose to let the Holy Spirit guide your use of time, time itself begins to collapse, revealing the eternal now that's always been your true home. Here's what I want you to take away from this. You are not a victim of time. Time is not your enemy. It's not something that's working against you, stealing your peace, limiting your possibilities. Time is simply a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for different purposes. The ego has been using it to keep you imprisoned. But you can choose right now to let the Holy Spirit use it to set you free. Your liberation doesn't require you to somehow transcend time or escape into some mystical state. It requires you to be willing to use this moment and the next moment and the next for healing instead of for attack, for forgiveness instead of for grievance, for love instead of for fear. That's all. And in that simple willingness, in that gentle shift from ego's purpose to Holy Spirit's purpose, time becomes your ally in unawakening. If this message resonated with you today, I'd really appreciate it if you'd give this video a like. It helps more people discover A Course in Miracles and begin to understand how to use time for healing instead of for imprisonment. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. We explore the Course together every single day, diving deep into its teachings and making them practical and applicable to your daily life. This is a community of seekers who are committed to choosing differently, to letting the Holy Spirit reinterpret everything the ego has made. Share this video with someone who might need to hear this teaching. Maybe you know someone who's burdened by their past, anxious about their future, someone who feels like time is running out or like they've wasted too much time. Maybe you know someone who's ready to discover that time can serve their awakening instead of their suffering. And please leave a comment below. Tell me how this teaching on the function of time landed for you. How do you notice the ego using time in your life? What helps you shift to the Holy Spirit's use of time? What changes when you bring your awareness into the present moment? Your insights and experiences enrich this community and help all of us on this journey together. I'll see you tomorrow as we continue exploring A Course in Miracles together. Until then, remember, this moment, right now, can be used for your healing. You don't have to wait. You don't have to prepare. You simply have to be willing to let this instant serve love instead of fear. And in that willingness, time becomes the gift it was always meant to be.